Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Smith and we are a little more than halfway done with our Newbery challenge for this summer. I'm holding some of the Newbery titles that I've gotten to read this summer, so I'm really happy with how much I've gotten done so far. So I'm going to share the books that I've read with you, and then I want to show you a little trick in case you haven't quite hit your 8 books and you're still wanting to. It's a trick I use to manage my time when I want to do some reading for school or reading that I know I have to get done for work, and I map it out, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that in case you want to reach some reading goals for your Newbery challenge. So first, I'm going to tell you about a few books that I have read this summer. The Bridge to Terabithia, I read most recently. This one was terrific. It was about a young girl who moved to a new town, and she made friends with someone, and it was sort of a city girl moving to the country. She was athletic instead of prissy, and she liked to read and think and use her imagination instead of watch TV or do her makeup. And so I liked it for a lot of reasons. There is some sorrow and sadness and deep content, but this book really handles it well. And every person that I've talked to who has read the book, they all say the same thing, that, oh, it's sad, but it's so good. So get your tissues and maybe read this one. And I would say probably 10 and up are going to appreciate this the most, maybe 9. But just be sensitive towards those readers that maybe emotionally connect and wouldn't be able to handle themes of loss and things like that. Hatchet is another one. I like to assign this one for 5th and 6th grade readers. This is also a young person kind of going through figuring out what it means to be a young man. He has to deal with survival on his own, and he really finds within himself that he has a lot more than he thought he did at the ready. The Witch of Blackbird Pond, I talked a little bit about this. A young woman moves from somewhere else to a different place. This is a really common theme because it is a real challenge that young people and adults go through, and we all have to figure out how we're going to cope with it. She moves from the West Indies to colonies in the United States, before it was the United States in America, and she is Catholic and then moves to a Protestant colony, and there's still conversations going on with who's going to be loyal to the king. Lots of cool stuff in here, lots of themes of friendship, but again, I would say probably 10 and up. This might have been my favorite read of the summer so far, The War That Saved My Life. This read, it reminds me, adults, if you've read Jane Eyre, a lot of her story and her story arc, it was really wonderful. There is abuse. We've got the war going on, but that's not the real conflict in the story. But this was a fabulous book for adults, and I can't recommend it enough. Walk Two Moons. This one my kids recommended, some of my students recommended, and it was really wonderful. Sharon Creech is the author, and she has actually written quite a few books that I've just heard great things about. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't, but you will love this book as well. This young woman has to kind of figure out who she is, where she's going to, what she's going to be angry about or happy about, and she overcomes some obstacles, goes through some loss, and it's a terrific book. This is the first book that I recommended for a Newbery. Nice and thin, a few pictures. The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. This is a really good book, and I think that you'll enjoy it. Alice Dalgliash wrote it, and she's written some great books. If you enjoyed this book, she's also written a great one, The Courage of Sarah Noble, that you might really like to get your hands on. This one has easy to read chapters and sections, so it's good for even the youngest reader. The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes. This one is a great book. Also, a few pictures, not too much going on, but this is about friendship, kindness, modern themes of bullying. And the shocking thing is that it's 70 or 80 years old, and we still deal with the same things in human nature and in crowds, and we wonder if we're responding the right way. And this is a really sobering book. I remember it's the first book I ever read my kids that didn't have a happy ending, and it really made them think, and I think we all decided that sometimes it's good to feel a little bit unsettled or sad at the end of a book, because it means we're thinking about what's right and how we could do things, and it leaves us having to work through some things on our own. Another book by Eleanor Estes is Ginger Pie, so fun, and there's also a few more books about the Pie family. This one's pretty thick, After it gets going, however, it takes right off, and the chapters are broken up into really nice sections. And Ginger Pie also has a little bit of mystery to it, as well as dogs and cats and cousins and an uncle who's younger than the kids. It's a lot of fun. So I totally recommend that, and Pinkie Pie that goes with it. I have My Father's Dragon. I love this book, and it's another pretty small one. I love to use it to work with students with counting, because the young man in the story, Elmer Elevator, counts out some things that he needs, and he gets them out, but then he takes them out of his bag and they're not there anymore. So it can be a lot of fun for younger readers, not only to either listen to it or read it, but to count them or draw them or cut them out. There's a lot of really, really fun scenes and lots of animals. In addition to all of these books that I had in my stack, I read A Single Shard, which was terrific. The Westing Game, which was a really intriguing mystery. I'd never read it, and I don't think I've ever read a book like it. I think it was definitely geared towards the older crowd or adults, but super fun, super interesting, and a great twist at the end. Good Masters, Sweet Ladies, I borrowed from the library, and I did give a good review of that if you want to learn more, but it has pictures too. And it takes you through a medieval town. The Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. He can crank out the Newberries, and they even have another award named after him. That one was a great book about surviving and kind of our relationship with nature and with other humans. The Midwife's Apprentice, that one was terrific. A young woman has to decide whether she has what it takes, and she feels like she's not very smart, and everyone around her tells her that she's not. And then she ends up proving that she has to do things that everybody needs, and she gets things done. It's a really, really good book. And I would say really 7 or 8 and up as far as the content goes, if they're hearing it out loud. And it's a pretty short chapter book. The Light at Turn Rock is another short one. It's about forgiveness. That one's a great one for younger students to read as well. The Golden Goblet I loved. It was a mystery that took place in Egypt. Really kept me engaged, and I couldn't put it down. The Perilous Road was a book that takes place during the Civil War, especially if you have young men in those middle years that like to read about war and things like that. This one really gets at the personal and familial concerns that happen when really families and towns are divided in their loyalties. And then lastly, I think I read A Wrinkle in Time. I'm pumped because that means I read 18 books. 18 Newbery books, as well as some other reading. So hooray for those of you who've met my goal. And there's still so much time. How do you like my lamp? There's still so much time left. I got so excited I knocked my camera down. I want to show you a trick. I'll probably show it in the next video since this one's getting a little long. I'm going to show you a little trick on how I like to manage my time as I am mapping out reading assignments. So you can stay tuned for part B, or you can sign off if you've stayed around this long. Happy reading.